Hi, everyone. My name is Paul Scalzo. I'm very excited today to have with me my commercial department from White Plains. This is called Scalzo Commercial, and there's a lot of things happening coming out of New York, so we've asked them to come up. We're going to talk a little bit about the New York commercial transition and what's going on, and I'm just real excited to have Julio with me today, Paul, and our star down here, Tony DiCamilla. So let me just kind of begin by just asking a few questions. So Tony, how long have you been selling commercial real estate out of the White Plains market?
Oh, I think it's going to be 16 years. 15 going on 16.
So if I was to say you know the market pretty well, is that a fair statement?
It is. Yeah, I do know the market pretty well.
And what do you specialize in any type of commercial?
Well, I don't really specialize. I'm more of a generalist, but I have been emphasizing more so industrial of late because industrial is the hottest market. And I've been doing a lot of land development deals with approved sites in Connecticut, actually.
Wow. So there's, well, I'll get to that in a few minutes. I just want to introduce everybody. And Paul, I know you've done some business things and things like that. How long have you been working with Tony down in White Plains?
I've been in commercial real estate about 13 years. The area that I focus on has a lot to do with hospitality, with restaurants, and right now COVID has a significant impact on that.
Oh, yeah, I'm going to come back to you and want to talk about that.
Sure.
And Julio?
Yeah, I've been involved with Tony for about a good 5 years. Yeah. It's been pleasurable because I have a lot of questions.
Yeah.
And I go to Tony, he gives me the answers, and I'm able to execute on it. I've been fortunate to work with some, land development. So I've been meeting lots of developers, and it's interesting because once I meet the developers on one group, I have an opportunity to maybe bring them to other places.
Great.
And I have a pretty extensive financial background, being in the mortgage business for 14 years. So I know how to analyze a property, and I can help customers get through the financing.
Great. Well, we'll get back to that too. So today I kind of wanted to talk about what is happening. I mean, that's the questions I keep getting from everybody up here in Connecticut, and same, I'm sure, down in your office, your market. People are saying, hey, why are all these people coming out of New York? What's happening in New York? Why did we get a call from a doctor group yesterday saying they wanted to come up to Connecticut? Why did you get a call saying, hey, I want to come into the White Plains market? So I'll just kind of open it up for discussion on the four of us here, the three of you. So what is going on? Why are these people? I mean, right now this is late April. We're going into May. COVID. We've all gotten our shots except for one person I know of here. So I'll say that. But I think people are feeling more comfortable, and places are opening up. And in Connecticut, May 15th, we're full. We're back to business. So what is going on in New York City? And I'm just going to open up. Why don't you guys let's just have a conversation. Why are you getting calls, and why is it so busy in our White Plains market?
I'll start by saying, okay, 2020, I would categorize as a stalled market where people weren't making decisions. That has changed with the beginning of 2021, where people are beginning to move forward. Now, in regard to movement out of the city, a lot of people their leases are up, let's say in September, or some in October, and some not until January of 2022. So they're exploring, and in my case, they're exploring moving north from the city. And that has happened quite a bit. And the pricing of properties in lower Westchester County, particularly in the industrial market, have been insane. I mean, it's actually I'll give you an example. About 4 years ago, I sold a 9,000 square foot warehouse for $1.2 million. Today it's worth $2.7. So
oh my gosh,
prices have more than doubled.
How many years ago?
4 years ago. 4 years ago for 1.2.
That's crazy appreciation.
Yeah, now it's about 2.6, 2.7. Yeah, it's insane. Buildings are selling at $350 a foot for industrial buildings, minimum, right now, in some of the lower Westchester markets like Mamaroneck, New Rochelle, et cetera.
And are those prices good for the people coming out of New York, or are these all people going side?
They actually are. They actually are good because the prices in the boroughs, particularly the Bronx, Queens, are absolutely higher than Westchester by a significant margin. I mean, they're going at $400 a foot for industrial
So you
space.
consider the White Plains market a bargain compared to lower?
I wouldn't say a bargain, but it's at a lower price than the new. And there's not an abundance of industrial to start off with. That's another thing driving the prices up, and the fact that retail is depressed, and so much more is going into e-commerce, which is making creating a need for distribution centers. So that's why the industrial market, even on the larger scale, I mean, people are looking for land to build industrial. They don't want to go too far north, though. That's the question. I mean, like even when you get into the Brewster market, okay, a lot of people don't want to even go that far north, and that's not even that far north. You know, it's the lower Westchester market is really where the numbers are.
And
the
Paul,
value is.
I know you go into the city a lot.
Yes.
You're in and out of the city with your business. What do you see? Are you seeing that transition?
Well, I see the Midtown area, which is primarily office market, and since that has dried up, people aren't going back to work yet. Too tough to get them up the elevators and separated. So if the office market is gone, the retail market in the area is gone as well. And restaurateurs are walking away from their leases because they don't see anything happening soon enough to be able to go back into business.
Yeah, I didn't think about that. So the people aren't coming to the offices. It must be tough to get. You have to wait to go up several floors in an elevator, and because of that, then the retail business dies. One thing affects the other.
Correct.
Yeah.
If you're in the, let's say, Upper West Side, Upper East Side, or downtown where it's more residential,
Yeah.
then there's less of an impact, and
Yeah.
retail is starting to open up.
Yeah.
But
Good
the
point.
Midtown area is tough right now.
Well, you know, residential is driving a lot too because of I'm going to say the Zoom factor.
Yes.
So, I mean, my niece works and lives in the city, but now she doesn't go to the office anymore.
Right.
She's one of 2,200 people that are not going into the office.
Well, a lot of people who are residential have moved out of the city, and so prices have softened in the city, but people are taking advantage of that
Yeah,
from a
hear
residential
that.
standpoint.
So we're still getting this transition of people coming out of the
Yes.
city and coming up. And if I was in the office today, tell me what type of calls you'd get. Just tell me calls, people emailing on some of your websites, whatever it is. What's a normal day? What's a normal? Hey, I'm decided to move out of the city. I'm coming up. I'm looking for what? What are they looking for?
I get two calls. I get the
Yeah.
call for the person who's looking for a restaurant space
Okay.
in Westchester, and I get calls from people out, let's say the Finger Lakes area or the Catskills, saying,
Oh, really?
I have a building, I have a restaurant. Do you have anyone from New York City that wants to come out here?
Oh, no kidding.
Because they're trying to get.
Well, what
some
happened to the
activity.
restaurants in the city? They going out of? Were the landlords forgiving? Were there a lot of forbearance agreements to keep the restaurants, or are they just going out of business?
Some of them, the landlords were flexible, some were not, but also it was a matter of common sense as to when is the office market coming back? Because if your business is primarily office, which
Yeah.
lunchtime it is,
Yeah,
then
that's
the-
because that's
the-
how it is in the city. So, what's driving the? I'm going back to you, Tony. What's driving the industrial market?
Supply and demand. There's less and less industrial available because so much of it has been converted to commercial and residential. So it's shrinking in all of the areas. It's shrinking in Queens, it's shrinking in the Bronx, and it's shrinking in Westchester.
You're saying it's being converted to residential?
Mostly it's your individual towns. Let's say, for example, I live in Eastchester, Tuckahoe
Yeah.
area, Bronxville, Scarsdale area. And there's a few industrial areas now. All of the local towns, whether it's Mamaroneck or Tuckahoe or Eastchester, where they did have industrial, they're trying to convert it to commercial to make it a shopping arena. In other words, there's one particular street in Tuckahoe called Mapledale Road, where you now have a brewery, you now have a hotel, and this was all industrial. So a lot of that is being converted to other commercial uses.
But it's not like normal retail. Those are like services in my mind.
Yeah, service-oriented retail.
Yeah.
Well, that's
it might be medical. It might
Yeah.
be something like that.
Yeah, I think, and then you have another instance where, I'll just to give you a little insight, is that one major retail chain went out of business, and New York Presbyterian took a major space in that strip mall in Eastchester. Now, Lord & Taylor's, which folded up recently, okay, that was originally 300,000 square feet. All the residents in the area are highly depressed because it's been there for 60, 70 years. And they originally had a pending lease with New York Presbyterian, which was going to take the whole building and make it a medical building. That deal fell through. And now National Realty Development, which is the real estate arm of Hudson Bay, which owned Lord & Taylor's and a number of other chains, okay, they are now considering developing it themselves. I had a few buyers that were very interested in it, that wanted to acquire it, major operations, and they don't want to sell it. They want to develop it themselves.
So I'm going to say this, and then maybe Julia can jump in here. I always say crisis creates opportunity. Would that be a fair statement, Julio, as to what's going on with you guys?
You asked a question about coming out of New York City, and I give you a personal account. I have friends in New York who have these apps that indicate when crime is happening. And they've had these apps for a long time. And they said, well, once in a while it would beep. But now they're saying it's constantly beeping, and people are concerned about their safety in New York. So that's driving people out of New York, and of course that brings business outside of New York too.
That's a great point. So you're saying the politics of New York City, and that's what we hear up here
Yes.
too.
Yeah.
I mean, we're
Without
hearing
a doubt.
that.
Yeah.
Same thing. So I would have to say that being in White Plains, you're at the right place at the right time. I mean, God forbid nobody, this COVID thing came, and at the same time, what's interesting, that technology jumped on with Zoom or whatever type of technology you use, which helped make people not have to go back to the city, which meant they moved. So you're probably seeing all sorts of commerce. So how's the restaurant market around White Plains? Is it doing well?
Yes, it's coming back now because people are dying to get out. They've been cooped up for a while, and now they're getting vaccinated, so they are starting to come back.
All right, I'm going to go one step further. So we have this transition from New York City to White Plains. It's obviously happening, whether it's industrial because of things being, the space being repurposed or whatever. But so they're coming to White Plains. But what's interesting is then you have a transition coming to Connecticut. So Tony, before you said, oh yeah, you're selling some sites in Connecticut. So there is now a move from the New York Metroplex to Connecticut. Is that fair?
Yeah, I would say in the case of land development or approved sites for residential development, a lot of companies based out of Manhattan that in the past would not even consider Connecticut are now considering Connecticut. And there's really not a lot available in Westchester in regard to approved sites, very little. So Connecticut is the market now, which is becoming extremely hot. Now, I get lead generation just about every day for some of the exclusives I have in Brookfield. And it's very promising as to what's happening. There's just a lot more movement in general.
All right, here's the big question for and I'm going to go around the table. I'll start with you, Julio, and then we'll go around. Okay, when is this going to end? This movement. So I just want your guys' opinions. Nobody's going to hold it to you except for everybody on the podcast.
Well,
like the 10,000 people that are going to
Well,
look at this.
I'm going to give you a general answer.
Yeah.
When I talk to my friends about politics, we're at opposite ends of the scale. I believe in the pendulum theory. Some things swing to the left, they swing to the right. So it's just a matter of supply and demand and, general environment as to where the pendulum is swinging.
Yeah.
There's no year.
All right, but this is happening all over the United States. You realize that. This is just not the New York Metroplex market. This is happening almost everywhere. There is a demand for everything. There's a pent-up demand for residential. There's a pent-up demand, except for the technology, the disruptive markets, like I'll say retail, Lord & Taylor, things like that, because you can go online now. So I'm looking for a date. Is this thing going to end in 2 years, 3 years?
Is it, do you think it's a bubble, or do you think it's, I don't, everything has a time limit.
Well, you know what? You're probably the best answer here because I don't think anybody has a clue. You listen to the people in New York City. One guy says 12 years, another guy says 3 years. New York City's being bought up now from a lot of foreign people, I understand. Not even, people that have been here that want to buy something just for the opportunity. Paul, what's your opinion?
If we don't have a resurgence of COVID, another spike, if things continue to go down, then I think we're starting to see some improvement now, and here we are halfway through 21. So I would say by the end of 22, we should be getting close to normal.
Yeah, but when will this market end? My question is, you have this, close to normal. We have this pent-up market. There's not enough houses. There's not enough industrial space. I mean, it's just getting hotter. Prices are going up and going up. Is there a crash, or does this thing continue? At some point,
No.
and Julio made the great point, when it comes up, it gets to a point, it's got to come down.
Yes, but a lot of people have moved out and are moving out and are trying to move out, and we're benefiting from that up here.
Okay.
But as things get really improved, you know what? People are going to start going back a little bit too.
Okay.
So
That's a good point.
When's
that going to happen?
Well, as I say, I think
mean,
in 22, and
so?
particularly towards the end of 22, we're going to start to see a settling down a little bit more back to normal.
All right, so you won't give me an exact date, like June 5th. Okay. Tony, what's your opinion?
I think Manhattan will come back. It's just a matter of when. I think it'll be at least 2 years. You're going to need a major change in leadership in regard to the mayor and the governor to make things happen, because the police force is decimated right now with retirement and people not wanting to become a policeman any longer. In regard to the markets are concerned, I think the markets will continue to move north, into areas like Brookfield and even further north than that, because it's just running out of sites south of that. So that's going to continue. I think the market will definitely slow down when there's going to be a major effect on interest rates due to inflation. The way that we're printing money, interest rates are going to climb. You can already see the pricing of inflation now with the price of fuel, gasoline, and product overall in just about every category. The prices are really going up significantly. So it could be, hopefully it won't be, but it could be another Jimmy Carter era where inflation gets crazy. I don't think it'll be as bad as that when it went up to 18%, but it could approach double digit.
Well, I'm
interest rates.
I go on and look at different forecasts, and they're all over the place. But that's certainly one of them I hear a lot.
It will affect the construction industry, the development industry, significantly. If the cost of money goes up significantly, people aren't going to make those moves.
Yeah, that's definitely going to affect what's going on here.
I have a question about office buildings. What's going to, now that the COVID happened and businesses are accustomed to doing business by Zoom and find that it's effective, what's the long-term effect on office buildings?
Conversions.
Good question. What's that? Conversion. Yeah, I say repurpose.
All conversion?
I think repurpose,
Yeah, repurpose.
Well, anyhow, we're at the end of our time, so I really want to thank the three of you for coming up and doing this. This to me is an important podcast just because these are very interesting topics. So thank you very much. Why don't you give your name and contact real quick, and then...
Giulio Vitolo, and my cell phone number, the best way to reach me is 914-490-1303, and I'm known as JV Pray because I pray for your deals when they happen.
Okay. That's good, Giulio.
Yeah.
All right, my name is Paul Ficalora, and my cell is 917-715-4346.
My name is Tony DiCamillo, DiCamillo. My cell is 914-787-9571.
All right, thanks again. That was good stuff.